Welcome back to another episode of the CGA Tour podcast. I'm your host, Calvin Glen Alexander, and as always, I'm joined by Walter Agnitsch and almost always Zev Stein. I guess I should say as always, I'm your host. For the Big Three OKC podcast, I'm joined by Zev Stein and Walter Agnitsch. Do you guys hear the new intro music in the background? Is that coming through clearly?
I dug it.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Well, shout out to
a little curveball there. I like it.
Shout out to the 16-year-old brother for making the new intro music, as a props to us for hitting 15,000 plays for the CGA Tour podcast. So, yeah, big. I'll hit the applause button here. Gonna make fun of myself. But anyways, so new intro music here for the next 15,000 plays, or we'll see however much longer, or indefinitely. We'll see. Maybe this is the one that sticks. But with that being said, it's another episode of the Big Three in OKC, and we have Joel DeNicolo currently on IR. He's on the injured reserve. He'll be back at some point. Not sure necessarily when, but he'll be back with us here in the future. Best wishes to Joel here on that. And you know what? I think he's gonna maybe just take the solid a little time out. Be with his family in these tough times. So, anyways, Walter, I was trying to make Zev laugh there.
I was
really trying to make
beating my
Zev
head.
laugh.
I was beating my head to the new song, not cheering that Joel's injured.
Right.
Just want to make that clear.
Just
I missed the goat. It's going to be a little. It's going to be a little weird with the goat being absent, but I think we will manage, and he'll be back soon. And just hope for the good stuff.
Exactly.
All the best.
Exactly. Wishing him the best here. Anyways, with all that being said, Walter, Russell Westbrook is good at basketball. In fact, he's so good, he might be the second best point guard ever. You were asking this question right before we started the podcast. I actually want to bring it up here real quick before we get rocking and rolling. In your mind, who's the best point guard ever?
Scott Brooks. Scott Brooks got it pretty close. In my opinion, Russell Westbrook is the greatest point guard to ever play the game. That's just me. I'm taking my Russell Westbrook hat off, unbiased opinion here. No one's ever been able to do what he's done. So we'll go with Russell Westbrook number one. Magic Johnson number two. He was close. Scott was close. Then I probably have Allen Iverson, Isaiah Thomas. I feel like John Stockton is maybe a top 10er. I do feel he's a little overrated. Karl Malone really carried those teams.
Okay. Well, that means Zev, where's Westbrook on your list? Is he top 10?
In terms of individual talent, effort, and skill, all of those three things, I think he's easily top 3 by himself. I think if we're calling Steph Curry a point guard, I would put him in there as well. Of course, AI changed the whole game early 2000s. And yeah, I think you can't sleep on Steve Nash.
That's true. Back-to-back MVPs.
I think he's a similar style, you to your John Stockton comparison, who was a little bit overrated, but man, did he play a beautiful brand of basketball. And I think had he been in a better system, he probably would have, and had the Spurs not doused his chances, he may have won a couple. But I would definitely put Russ. I would definitely put Russ in the top 3.
Yeah, I think Gary Payton's top 10 also.
Okay, some Sonic love there.
And
nice.
And this is a little underrated because the man that beat Steve Nash was Tony Parker. I don't know where Tony Parker is on that list. I think he's probably top 15 point guards of all time. Just saying.
Yeah, Tony Parker's not
very
getting enough
underrated.
love.
Honorable mention, if nothing else.
Yes.
Particularly for the moment in the finals where he's going off of his knee to do a floater at the last second. I'll just never forget that.
That was gorgeous.
And also his biggest contribution to the Thunder now, mentoring young Teo Maledon.
I know, dude.
Who might be the next Tony Parker. So there we go. The best may yet to come from young Tony Parker.
Well, on this episode of the podcast here, we do have several different topics to get to. Russ Westbrook's in my top 5, by the way, just in case anyone's curious. But we have who's the best play-in team. Currently, as the play-in teams are categorized for each conference. what's next for Kevin Love after his recent issue? We'll get into more of that in a second. Should Portland blow it up? And at the very end, I've got some power rankings. Laptop willingly works. We will give the power rankings to you guys. So, with all that being said here, Zev, I'll ask you then, since I asked Walter first here about the Westbrook comment. Who's your favorite of the play-in teams for the Western Conference? Who do you think is going to make it out of there? And by play-in teams, I understand 7 through 10 are playing each other, so pick any one of those or however you see fit from the question.
And
And
even though they're on a losing streak, I'm going to say San Antonio. Because they have the experience, and because I'm a little bit biased, and that was my team pre-Thunder. But also, I just think they have the best mature experience in that situation. Even though it's a new thing, they're still used to the pressure situations. I think the rest of those that are 7 through 10 are real young teams.
Yeah, so currently 7th is the Trailblazers, 8 is Grizzlies, 9 is Warriors, 10 is Spurs, and then 11, for all intents and purposes, just to be clear here, is the Pelicans. The Pelicans are a game and a half back of the Spurs with 10 days left in the season. I don't see it happening either. The Warriors are a game and a half up on the Spurs. The Grizzlies are a half a game up on the Warriors, and the Trailblazers have a commanding difference of 3.5 games up on the Grizzlies. So with 10 days of the regular season left, the top 4 seeds in the West have already clinched a playoff spot. The Mavs, the Lakers, Trailblazers are all kind of, 5 through 7 there in the mix to possibly be that 7th seed. Right now, the Mavericks, of course, are trending up. They're 7-3 over their last 10. Lakers are 3-7 over their last 10. Trailblazers are 5-5. And I'll say it this way. I think the Warriors, just because the Steph Curry factor, is the most dangerous team in the Western Conference. Now, I think that's got to go 2 things. 1, we've seen Steph Curry just put up some amazing, incredible games. And 2, we've also seen it where, then all of a sudden the other team figures him out in the second half and he doesn't do, that much. So if over a 1 game, I'd go with, Steph Curry 1 game, just literally just heating it up, going off. I could see that happening for sure, especially if it is against the Grizzlies. If they, granted, that means they beat the Spurs from how it all matches up to here. And then Walter, I'll ask you, you've got the 7 and 8 to play each other. The loser of that will play the winner of the 9v10 for that 8th seed. So, Walter, with that being said, who's your most dangerous play-in team from the West?
It's kind of interesting. I saw the quote from LeBron saying whoever came up with the play-in game should be fired. And I was like, why would LeBron say something like that? And then you realize the Lakers are a half game up on Portland for the 7th spot. So there's a chance that the Lakers might be a play-in team. And if they are, they're the best Joel. Sorry, Joel. I know he's upset about the Russell Westbrook comments and probably this kind of stuff. If it's them, I'd say the Lakers are the best play-in team. But no, I'm going to assume that they're going to keep out of it and stay in the 6th spot. So I'm going to go with agreeing with Calvin. I'm going to go with the Warriors. Okay. Steph Curry, you never know when he's going to go 40, 50 points. This month they've beaten teams like the 76ers. Granted, they helped the Thunder out by losing to the Timberwolves. Would have helped us out even more if they'd lost to the Rockets and the Timberwolves, but they beat the Rockets. But beating teams like that, it'd be a very interesting team. You don't know what you're going to get from Kelly Oubre and that whole cast, but Steph Curry, man, he's a 2-time MVP. I'm going to go with them and Draymond and Andrew Wiggins.
And then following up here for the Eastern Conference, I'm going to lay it out a little bit ahead of time before I ask, just because we have the ability to do that. But the Hawks are currently the 5th. They are a game and a half up on the 6th and 7th seed because 6 and 7 are tied with each other. So we'll see. I think they can stay at 5. I don't necessarily know if the Celtics or the Heat will make it up. But honestly, the Knicks also here are only 2 games up over the 7th seed. But, and the Knicks currently are the 4th. The 6 through 10 here, I'll get to, is currently non-play-in team, the Celtics, but they are tied with the Heat for that 6/7 seed. So the Heat are 7. Hornets are 2.5 games back of the 6th, 7th seed, as I just explained. Pacers are 2 games back of the Hornets. And then the Wizards are half a game back of the Pacers. So, sorry, Joel. It looks like I'm winning this bet. Looks like, 1, Nuggets aren't going to make it, are not going to be one of the playing teams. 2, it's like the Wizards, they're 3 games up over the Raptors currently. To be that 10th seed. So it looks like the Wizards are actually going to make it make me a little cash here because they're going to make the play-in tourney. So of the Eastern Conference, Waltowski first year, which is your most dangerous playing team. And I'm almost sure I know who you're going to say.
Oh, he got frozen.
Queued up, frozen, whole thing. It's just going to come back with like 7,000 words at once.
Oh, here we go. Sorry, I do apologize. I do apologize. Okay, we're ready to go. Okay, we're all good. Okay, here we go. Yeah, you guys think I would choose the Wizards? Beal, Westbrook finally seemed to be getting it clicking. I'm not going to go them. I was, it's really hard not to pick the team that just gave the Thunder the worst loss at home in NBA history, the Indiana Pacers. I'm not going to go that either. I'm going with the 7th seed. I'm going with the team that was in the finals last year. I'm going Miami Heat. I love Jimmy Butler. I love the whole environment. Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson. I believe in that team. So I think that they are the best of the playing teams right now. And of course, Bam. Can't forget Bam.
Bam Adebayo. All-star.
Oh,
Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, that dunk last night or the night before was hefty.
Zev, what about you? Who's your playing team?
I'm going to have to agree with Walt. I was surprised. I was very surprised that
good choice.
There was no Westbrook loyalty bleeding into that segment.
I wanted to.
Yeah. No, just the fact that even if they're the 7th seed, that doesn't really mean anything because they're the 7th seed because of injuries. Since they've had everybody together, they've been clicking. And I think you got a team of stacked talent and that plays well together, and Jimmy Butler finally has a team that he can hold accountable without worrying about if he offended someone. Like he can just stand up to anybody on that team, and he doesn't have to worry about not being the alpha. And don't forget about Goran Dragic. Don't forget about all these role players they got. I think they got a chance to do a deep run at minimum.
They also have Iguodala, who's able to give him some quality minutes off the bench. I'm not. He's nowhere near where he was.
He's not 2015 Finals MVP.
Yeah.
And Thunder great Trevor Ariza.
Loyal Thunder lover. Trevor Ariza.
Somehow still Udonis Haslem. Can we just mention briefly? Somehow he's still playing.
Udonis Haslem. Keep getting them checks, because that's what you're doing, bro.
Right.
I'm a little disappointed that Trevor Ariza didn't say goodbye to Oklahoma City. Like a post like, it's been great, Oklahoma City. I loved playing for you guys. You're the best. I would have at least appreciated that.
Right. Do you think if Al Horford's traded over the offseason, he comes out with a... Because when he sat out since the trade deadline. He sat out since the trade deadline now. Just because he's separated from the team. That's it.
I think he's gonna be thankful. I think he's gonna say give a thank you to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He'll do that.
Yeah, I think he will too. He's also one of those guys who's been a journeyman throughout the NBA. And I forget he at one point played for the Hawks. Like that seems forever ago, right?
Dude, that team with Paul Millsap and Josh Smith and Jamal Crawford and Jeff Teague. Woo!
So much potential, but now of course we hate the Hawks, right? All 3 of us hate the Hawks.
Yeah,
Hawks are vehemently.
Jerks.
Those Trae Young idiots.
Trae Young's a pretty good player.
Hey, that Tootsie Pop haircut with some hair on it is great.
I call him Mr. Thomas.
Curls get the girls, Calvin.
Yeah, I guess that must be true because I currently have no girls and no curls. So, wait, I have a sound effect for that. Hang on a second.
Oh. There it is.
There it is. Sad trombone. Sorry, I had to figure out which label it was.
Jesus, that's sad. That's a sad.
That's a real sad trombone.
That's too sad, Calvin. That hurt. That hurt me.
That was quality.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll make fun of myself and give myself the rim shot here. I actually did take some time here while Zev was explaining why it was the Heat, just to in acceptance that it is the Heat or the team here for me. I want to give a little bit of an honorable mention to the Hornets, but real quickly, Heat, Duncan Robinson, got my shooting sleeve on now, clearly because I'm going to go ball later. Just kidding. But maybe actually in the driveway. But the Hornets here I want to give an honorable mention to, just because, I mean, LaMelo Ball coming back, I thought he'd be out, all the reports we had where he was going to be out for the rest of the season. That was it, right? And for a team to catch fire and be kind of good for a couple games, I think the Hornets, and then as a true play-in team, if we have to choose between either the Pacers or the Wizards, I'm going to say Wizards. I'm going to be the Westbrook homer.
Yes, agreed.
Well, what about you?
I don't know, Calvin. They went and beat us by 57 points and then lost to the Wizards.
So I'm going to say Wizards then.
I'm going to say Wizards because Wizards beat them. So let's go with Wizards.
They beat us. Wizards beat them. That means that maybe the Wizards would have beat us by 67 instead of just 57.
Yeah, I know, right?
Pacers really took their pedal off the gas.
It depends if Scotty B has a White Claw before the game. If he has one before the game and one at halftime. And if Kendrick calls him, and it also depends at what time Kendrick calls him. So that's a whole process.
Depends.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, though,
that was a good pun there too, Zev. I caught that one.
That's
Depends.
Good. Nice. Depends.
Yep.
Depends.
That was a crappy one.
You guys know who one of Westbrook's?
Yes. Off track.
Oh no, it's all good. I was trying to segue
go
here,
ahead,
but I'm gonna keep the segue going. The segue's gonna go. I just want to say, do you guys know who one of Westbrook's favorite teammates ever was? The other zero that could have been?
Who?
Kevin Love. So Kevin Love, of course, is currently number 0 in the NBA. Of course, Westbrook was ranked number 0 until this season. That's we got that transitive property there. Anyways, yeah, I can do fingers. Everyone can see this is on YouTube now. Go check out the podcast on YouTube. But with that being said, Kevin Love the other night literally just passes the ball into the other team.
Oof.
Like just may know. It's a video podcast, so there will be definitely a link here in the top corner that you can click on to see this highlight. But with that being said, it's definitely worth looking up for just listening to the audio version here, because Kevin Love, it's not an accidental thing whatsoever. It was almost on purpose, except for he wasn't looking directly at that player. Like, he knows exactly, you can tell he knows exactly where the player is. He's looking at his guy to pass it into, and it's like, ball slipped out of my hand. But he passes it that way and then just walks to the bench.
That's the second time that's happened this year, too, where he's had a play like this, where he's obviously quit.
Right. That Cavs team is a tough team to be on. They are 21-45. They are 14th in the NBA, 14th in the Eastern Conference. Overall, they're top 5 worst teams in the NBA record-wise. They've lost 8 in a row. I mean, I can keep going with this here, but we all know the same point here. The Cavaliers are in a rebuilding phase. They're in a LeBron came here and then destroyed all of our future for the next 5 years, because that's just what happens, honestly, when you go after good players. Like the Nets. The Nets went after, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and it's taken them how long now to rebuild? So
7 years?
Yeah, and the Nets are at least in Brooklyn. Cleveland's in, Cleveland, Ohio. So it's going to take them a little bit longer to rebuild and get draft picks and all type of stuff too. Kevin Love's one of those guys who LeBron came, won a chip, but now he's one of my favorite players to watch, especially when he's playing for Minnesota, just because of how many rebounds and points he was putting up, and his three-point range for being a big man was revolutionary at the time, I think, as far as the production value, I guess is the way to say it. It was being done, but not to that high efficiency.
Hey, Calvin, can we agree at least that Cleveland's better than that town Detroit? I mean, can we all that just seems like common knowledge. Way better organization than the Pistons, if you ask me.
The Pistons have former Thunder in himself, Troy Weaver, so I think we gotta get a little love.
Yeah,
Detroit.
No love. They're a terrible organization.
Well, the Pistons currently do have the worst record in the Eastern Conference. They actually don't have the worst record in the NBA, which is honestly astonishing, because they have 19 wins when the Rockets have 16 wins.
If you ask me, If you ask me, they should be relegated, like a Premier League team. They should be relegated to the G League and let the Oklahoma Blue up into the NBA. You ask me.
Right.
I feel like the OKC Blue could beat the OKC Thunder for a game. It's
As
possible.
it stands now, yeah. Maybe.
It's possible. It matters who has to be on which team, to be honest. Because
there's kind of some guys that play both sides, but play for the Blue and play for the Thunder.
Right.
Yeah. So the Thunder are going to go play the Cavaliers. Well, we're going to promote a lot of Blue guys that night. But with the Cavs and Kevin Love, what's next here? What should Cleveland do about the whole Kevin Love situation? Clearly he doesn't want to be there. After the game came out with like a mental health type of thing. He's got to be better, and I think we all know that. But in neither of you guys' minds, whoever wants to take it first, what's next for Kevin Love? I mean, his career's not over, right? He's still got some years left.
Mm-hmm.
He's only 32.
Retire. So, yeah.
I think maybe like a Dr. Phil type show for him because he's pretty big into the mental health game. No? Okay, no.
Are you just leaving it at that? That was it? That was the only explanation?
It's because, dude, I want to give him a break, all right? I understand the mental health issues, but he's done it twice now. Like, at some point, I understand you're making $28 million. You're playing in the NBA. Stop being a baby and giving the ball to the other team. Like, there's at least some common rules, right? Where it's you quit, but you don't obviously quit to the point where you get so upset with your team that you literally give the ball to the other team, right?
Right.
I mean, that's just terrible. I understand. I'm willing to give him a pass because, like you said, the mental health issues he's been dealing with. But, man, if I see that, I don't want that player on my team.
Yeah, it's kind of toxic for the rest of the locker room.
And, I mean, here's the thing. He's on a 1-year contract after this season. You know, that could be easily bought out. It's more manageable to trade. He could go to a team like the Wizards and instantly kind of flip that team around a little bit to be more of a contender. You know, he said it would be a dream come true to go to Portland. You know, I don't know how we're gonna be talking about Portland a little bit later. I don't know if I'd like to see him better in Washington, but he's at this point in his career where this offseason he needs to get traded to a team that's terrible, get bought out, and then go sign a $5 million, $6 million deal with a contender like the Clippers, the Lakers. I think that's kind of where he's at in his career now.
Yeah.
I
ring
think
chasing time.
Well, he also needs to do one of those things where he goes to the coach and goes, hey, listen, we're Cleveland. We don't play on national television every night. But the second that we do, give me the ball, and I'm going to throw up 50 shots. I'm going to put up just so many points in a game or so many rebounds. He's just got it. In my mind, if his health's not there, that's very worrisome for the rest of his NBA career to do this that I'm going to lay out. But if it is there, then he's really just got to go like balls to the wall for every single nationally televised game or close to nationally televised game to up his draft stock. Because, not draft stock, excuse me, but trade value. Because,
trade stock, yeah.
Listen, Kevin Love, all three of us have watched him play so many times. I've wanted him on the Thunder for years when we had Westbrook and KD because I thought he'd be the perfect small ball 5 for that team. But at the end of the day, of course, it didn't happen. And now he's like stuck in Cleveland. And he's just one of those guys where at the end of the day, would you rather have Tristan Thompson or Kevin Love? Well, Tristan Thompson was cheaper. That's the thing. Thompson's just cheaper. You'd rather have Kevin Love. It's a no-brainer. But Thompson's cheaper. But are you telling me right now the Lakers wouldn't just love to have Kevin Love? Like, his contract is just too big. So, with that being said, he's got the 1 year left. He's got to be traded before the trade deadline next year. I think Cleveland knows that. And I think the other part of it is that he needs to know that, right? Like, we need to see some Kevin Love highlight reels, start coming out next year or, over these final couple games or whatever it is, too. Cleveland does have a couple of games that are against bigger name teams in Dallas and Boston and Brooklyn. Now, are any of those going to be on national televised games? Probably not, because I'm unfortunately just going to say it is Cleveland. They're not doing great. But make some Sports Center highlights. Do whatever you need to do to get in front of more NBA eyes to really up your trade value.
I think playing with Kyrie and LeBron may have taken the alpha out of Kevin Love. I think it is hard for him after playing with such huge personalities and having been the man for the first several years of his career, and then have to become a third option after being the first option, maybe has, along with his injuries, has messed up his desire to even do that sort of thing, Calvin. I think that like there may be a part of him where 2014, coming off of the big seasons he had in the Timberwolves, I'm remembering all those, like that crazy 50-point game he had against the Thunder where he hit that like overtime craziness shot. Where I don't think that Kevin Love isn't there anymore, and so I don't know necessarily that he'll do that. What I do think is that Walter's right. He'll get traded either. He'll get bought out pre-end of season, or he will get traded draft night to a bad team and then get bought out. Now, can I just mention something interesting that I was reading about?
Of course.
There are other, and y'all probably already know about this, but there's a connection with all of the other players who have been bought out of the similar circumstance and him. And it's that they all have the same agent in Jeff Schwartz.
Ah, okay.
Schwartzy.
Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, Andre Drummond, Kevin Love all have the same, and Al Horford all have the same agent. And so it seems like
focusing on the big man.
And yeah, and so that seems like their calling card, or his calling card of his people. So that seems the most likely. I think he'll want to try to win another ring, and I think it's likely that he'll want to try to play with LeBron again. So I think the Lakers is a pretty decent option, and I also think the Nets is a good option because he could fill in that LaMarcus Aldridge void.
And I honestly think he could be better than Aldridge was, just because.
Oh yeah.
A rejuvenated Kevin Love is something we all want to see back in the NBA.
Agreed.
You know, no one's out here saying they want to see a player do badly. Not even me saying I don't want Trae Young. I don't want to see Trae Young do badly every single game. I mean, against the Thunder, yeah, but national television, yeah. But anyways,
Calvin, I want to see Patrick Beverley do bad every game. Any minute he steps on, I want him to trip over his feet. I
hardly agree with that.
Yeah, I want to see. Yeah, I want to see that.
Patrick Beverley. I want to see Damian Lillard miss a shot that's mattered. Like the shot he made against the Thunder, I want to see him miss that same shot in a very similar scenario.
Good luck.
It was a bad shot.
With you there.
It was a bad shot. Thanks, Paul George. But, well, let's move it over to the Portland Trailblazers discussion, right? Because if Kevin Love is able to go to Portland Trailblazers with this current roster that they have, right? And he's, kind of the big three-ish, right? Dame, CJ, Kevin Love. Granted, it's three guys who two of them are in the prime / maybe kind of into the prime of their careers, depending on health and injuries wise. And Kevin Love definitely past his prime, but maybe not. It matters on how dramatically we see this, right? Kevin Love's still got a lot of energy, still got a lot of enthusiasm, all type of stuff, and the new face and new place really does take off, then we're good. But, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's a perfect solution right now. I do like the Washington Wizards idea that Walter threw out as well, too, just because it'd be fun to see him back.
It would be good to see two UCLA bros back together. That'd be a good wholesome story.
Oh, yeah. I might actually buy a Wizards jersey then if Kevin Love goes there. I can't bring myself to buy a Kevin Love Timberwolves or Timber Pups or Cleveland Cavaliers jersey.
Hey, Calvin, it's easy. Just if you don't want to buy a real one, just buy a Chinese knockoff like I've got my Baker Mayfield on. Completely fake.
It's not about actually it's not the price. It's the I don't want to own a Minnesota Timberwolves jersey.
Oh yeah, no, it's always a level, right? Because if I really, really want it, then I'll get a legitimate one. I'll pay price. If it's something like I think would be kind of cool, like the Paul George Hickory jersey, it's like I want it, but I'm not willing to pay real money. I get it Chinese.
Well, I'm just gonna say this, but if like Cade Cunningham, Oklahoma State guy, Grant only played one season with Oklahoma State, but you know what I mean? Like if he's drafted the Timberwolves, it's going to be really hard for me to go, I'm going to buy a Timberwolves jersey. Because honestly, I just am not a huge
the only Timberwolves jersey I'm ever going to wear is a big ticket.
KG.
Yeah. And I mean, here's the thing, Calvin, too, about Cade. You shouldn't be paying anything for a Cade jersey because you already paid him enough to come play at OSU. So
hey,
you should be getting that jersey for free.
Yeah.
Gonna play the laughter as loud as possible here to really drive home that point. Turn that thing way too far up. But I don't know. I mean, Portland's in such a weird spot, right? So if we look at their, they're the 7th seed currently in the West. They're just not great. They haven't put it all together. I don't think they've gotten the same amount of luck playing in the Western Conference that like the Heat did last year. I think the Heat last year got some lucky stuff happen their way, right? And then Kawhi Leonard changes conferences. A couple other things happened too with Eastern Conference. The Nets aren't all put together that season, last season, right? So, Hater honestly, go to the finals. I don't see that happening I don't see that. It sounds bad. I don't see that ever happening with Portland. I don't know if that makes me a bad person. I just don't. I don't see Portland.
That's realistic.
Yeah, I don't see Portland just ever making it as their current lineup. So if you're Portland, Damian Lillard still an amazing NBA player. We know that as Oklahoma City fans. But so is CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum's been putting in a ton of trades. I mean, the CJ McCollum for Kevin Love trade was rumored at one point, I think, which is kind of funny now looking back on it. But a CJ McCollum trade or a Damian Lillard trade, or what should the Blazers do? What should the Blazers do to try to actually get there? Because honestly, right now it looks like they're thinking about firing Terry Stotts, and I don't necessarily think that's the answer. I don't think your head coach is the issue.
Always the scapegoat, though.
I know that, but I know that so well that we know that's not gonna make the big difference.
Wait,
exactly.
Calvin, firing an ex-OU player wouldn't make you happy?
I mean, dude, Stotts, no one remembers that guy playing at OU. Come on, bro.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, no. See, here's the thing. I love Terry.
No one remembers Blake Griffin playing at OU. That's why I'm not getting on to Blake Griffin.
Dude, a lot of people remember Blake playing at OU. I remember when he jumped so high, he hit his face on the side of the backboard.
I remember that.
And he got screwed out of playing North Carolina. The refs were just a hose job. But that's another day's subject. Obviously, Portland, in my opinion, just need to stay the status quo. Where they never win and they just go to the first, second round of the playoffs every year and then get eliminated. And, Dame time is going to become lame time, That's obviously what they need to do.
Well, yes, as a Thunder fan, I understand that both of us are probably on the same page.
No,
wouldn't it be great if it's just lame time?
There's no Thunder jersey on. It's an OU football jersey. Obviously, I'm not a Thunder fan in this podcast per se. But here's the deal. What? No. Here's the deal. I mean, it happens to everybody except maybe Dirk. Was kind of where the star will eventually get frustrated and want out. It's only a matter of time. Maybe it's this year, maybe it's next year. I'm not sure. It's probably gonna be within the next 2 years where he's gonna go get demanded to be traded.
I feel like his rap career is just really gonna elevate him to new heights and honestly keep him in Portland for forever. I honestly though, like if you're Damian Lillard, right? Westbrook never demanded a trade from the Thunder, but the Thunder just had a new direction they needed to go in, right? We saw everything change, and the Thunder did finally trade Westbrook. I think that's
what it was portrayed. I'm not sure if that was true. I mean,
right, but that's I think
we
the way.
We may never know the true answer to that.
Yeah.
Right, but that's the way that Lillard's never gonna come out and say like Lillard to keep his image the way it is. He's not gonna come out publicly and be like, I got a guy, I'm out, or do something where it's like Lillard demands a trade through Mark Stein or Woj or whoever, right? Like,
well, I think he would. As much as I hate Lillard, I think he would keep it classy and keep it all under wraps and not have a holdout or something like that. But
yeah,
Agreed.
But should they trade Lillard, McCollum? I mean, both.
I go two different directions with this.
Yeah,
because I think there's one part of me that as a person who grew up in the last part of the era where loyalty mattered, where we're talking about Kobe, Tim Duncan, Dirk, players that played on one team. It seems like Steph might do the same thing unless he gets tired of Golden State. But I yearn for that kind of loyalty, even though I know it's not realistic all the time. So
Fair.
there's one part of me that wants it to blow up around Lillard, everybody else get traded, and put better pieces around him. Try to. Oh, where'd Walt go?
Yeah, he's just not on video real quick. We still got him.
So
sorry, everyone. Been a long day. It's been a long day. Hold on.
All good.
Anniversary is several months.
I had him. Yeah, no. We're not even talking. We're over that, Calvin. Start. But it has been a long day. Sorry. Hold on. Here we go.
Okay.
Zev, I did not mean to interrupt you.
You're good. You're good.
I know. Usually, intentionally, I try to get you off the rails. This was an unintentional one.
No worries, bud. So I think there's a lot of trade pieces they have to get good stuff in return. A Kevin Love, or even better, with CJ McCollum, with Enes Kanter still got some trade value. I think Covington's got a little bit of trade value. You can get some quality pieces if you try hard enough. And I think part of me wants the team to be rebuilt around him and possibly a different coach, because they've had the same coach for so long and it hasn't worked out. So maybe that they have a refresh, but obviously as a Thunder fan, we thought that Billy Donovan was going to turn around stuff, and that didn't happen. So
he had it turned around if Kevin didn't blow a lead. Sorry, not a Thunder fan on this podcast.
Kevin
no
Durant.
comment. But I think the more realistic option is just to pull a Thunder and do a total rebuild and just try to redo from the ground up before Dame even demands it. I would do it before things got out of hand.
Yeah, I would just do it while he's at the peak of his value. So I would do it like this offseason.
While they all have their peak value.
Yeah, I would do it this offseason just because I think we've seen this, unfortunately / fortunately, to be honest, we've seen this play out. Like, we've seen, I think, the best version of these two guys together. I don't think a Kevin Love's going to push you over the edge. I don't think a guy like that, right? A guy who you could, one, afford, and two, come to, kind of trade for, is going to be a guy who's going to put you over the edge in Portland, to be honest. Because
I guarantee you one team who's going to really blow the Blazers up is the Knicks, because they're going to try to get every star they can.
Well, hey, Damian Lillard's rap career would do great in New York. I'm sorry, I shouldn't keep going on that. Honestly, I think his rap career is way better than mine would ever be, but honestly pretty good.
Hey, Dame has featured Kevin Love on raps before, so it might not affect their basketball game, but it would affect the rap game, Calvin.
The rap game's undefeated.
Dropping dimes. It's baby Damian Lillard.
So good and bad at the same time. It's beautiful. I honestly don't necessarily want to. Well, I shouldn't have all these caveats of what I'm trying to say, right? I don't want to see Portland win. I would much rather see Oklahoma City win every single year. I'd much rather Oklahoma City be the only team that ever wins a championship ever again in the NBA. Period. But we've done this, like, how to fix the Timberwolves, how to fix the the Kings, how to fix the Pelicans, etc. And if this is like how to fix the Blazers, it's to trade one of those two guys, and it's probably to trade McCollum this offseason for a really quality, good pick and roll big man who can play alongside. Like, is Karl Anthony Towns available? Probably not. There's probably no way whatsoever, right? But if you all of a sudden get the third pick in the draft or the second pick in the draft, right? And it's Evan Mobley.
You think they go after someone like Vucevic?
Well, but it's like Evan Mobley or Karl Anthony Towns. That's all I'm going to try to keep going with this Karl Anthony Towns thing, right? Like, he's paid, all type of stuff. He'd match up contract-wise with McCollum a little bit. That's what I'm going with it a little bit more. But if it's like, okay, let's Timberwolves just go, crap, dude. Okay, we have Anthony Edwards. We have D'Lo. You know what I mean? And, like, they go, you know what? Screw it. Let's just go get Evan Mobley and not think twice about trading trading Karl Anthony Towns for that's second pick. Or if like Portland throws someone out there, right? Clearly, if Minnesota has the second pick and they have Karl Anthony Towns, they're not going to trade nothing. They're going to trade Karl Anthony Towns. But I'm just throwing those scenarios out there, right? Like, there's got to be a team out there right now who goes, Clint Capella is not that guy, though. Like, I'm trying to go one more. You know what I mean?
For sure. Oh, yeah.
Julius Randle's not going to be that guy either. You know, he's probably a Nick Lifer at this point after this season. So, I don't know. There's just not too many guys I think are available in this scenario.
Look, Calvin, just to add to it, we're kind of in the NBA now. It's not does Portland want to trade Damian or the Timberwolves want to trade Cat. It's do these players want to be traded and where do they want to be traded to? So I think if Karl Anthony Towns says, I want to go play with Damian Lillard, they're going to find a way to trade him to go play with Damian Lillard. I mean, it's not that way in the NFL, but it's that way in the NBA right now.
And that's an extremely good point. Yeah, because it's much more of what James Harden only wants to go to 3 teams. So you're going to have to trade him to one of these 3 teams and then get nothing back for him, right? So, hey, you know what? If a trade demand's out there and Kevin Love only wants to get traded a couple teams, they might just go, yeah, you can sit instead because you're not an MVP caliber guy. But small market teams got to do what small market teams got to do. So if Karl Anthony Towns is like, I demand a trade to go to Portland, then weirder things have happened, I guess. I mean, are there other ways here we could try to fix the Trailblazers? Is there any there's not really any free agency guys they're going to sign there, right?
Not this offseason.
But like even in the let's say 2 years from now, like us as Thunder fans, we know that there's not really a guy who's going to just come to Oklahoma City free agency wise and just sign Oklahoma City tomorrow, because currently we don't have a ton on our roster, a ton put together. But is there a guy out there that goes, yeah, I'll go to a small market and be the second dude, right? You know, I mean, I don't think you're going to take over Damian Lillard. I don't think you're going to be more valuable to that city than Damian Lillard is, unless you're, Kevin Durant, right?
Yeah. What if Dame says trade me to the Thunder? I want to play with Shea. How quickly do we forgive him?
Like instantaneously?
Yeah.
Have you looked at the 2019 roster for the Thunder?
The 2019 roster?
2 years ago. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
No. Remind me.
Guess it had Russ Westbrook.
There are 0 players from 2 years ago that are on that Thunder roster that are on the Thunder roster today. 0.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we all know this, but like there was an ad I got from like Facebook ads or whatever that was saying it's like $6 for a Thunder shirt from the 2019, and I was like, that's kind of weird. I wonder, and I looked at the back of the shirt, and it's got it's got 2019 playoffs. I'm like, oh, yeah, none of these guys were still with the team, like 0. Yeah, it's just weird to see that.
Steven Adams was the last holdover.
It's just really weird to see that, to be honest, because you would think
it's weird for us because we're a young organization. I think a lot of other organizations have probably experienced this a lot more than we have.
That's true too. Yeah,
I miss him.
What?
Even though I got there 3 hours early for his book signing and then he canceled it, I still love him.
Wait, for whose book signing?
Steven.
Steven was supposed to do a book signing at Barnes & Noble. I got there 3 hours early. No big deal. And then an hour before he canceled.
Like I threw in the no big deal, even though
my goal is to get Enes Kanter to sign it now and then write something about how that was pretty crappy of Steven to do. That's my goal in life. And get Boban to sign it. I want Boban signing it just because I want to meet Boban.
Yeah, you're a real big Boban fan.
I might pay real money for Boban jersey. I might not get a fake knockoff one. I might go full Boban.
Hey, props to you, honestly, man. If you up to you, right? You do you.
Right.
I am not going to say no to a Boban jersey for you buying and purchasing.
Oh, you want a Boban?
No, for you buying and purchasing your own Boban
well,
jersey.
If I get you one, will you wear one? If I get you a Boban jersey?
If you get me a free NBA jersey, I will wear it. Yeah.
Okay, all right, Zev.
I'm down.
Okay, we're getting fake Boban jerseys now.
Oh.
Those are big shoes to fill.
Wait, hang on. Got it.
There you go. Thanks.
All right, well, with all that being said here, you know what? I think we've stalled enough. We got to give the listeners what they want. You guys Jalen Rose fans, anything? And Jalen Rose fans?
Yep.
Got to give the people what they want. So I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear this the way that this is all set up, and by you guys, I mean Walter and Zev, not anyone listening. But the top 5 power rankings this week are the top announcer calls of the regular season, basically games. Top announcer calls I could find from regular season games. So we're going to start it out, and actually there are no particular order just because I'm honestly going which one loads, just to be clear. Hey, 6-year-old laptop is pulling its weight here. And is currently not unmuting this whatsoever. But the first one here we have is Eddie Curry hitting a 3 at the buzzer versus the Bucks in 07. All right, and let's see if I can get this to load up here. All right, here we go. Careful with the ears here. So, one, I love this highlight here just because, and I think it's going to play again, because you can hear the announcer's voice crack. 2, I love it as well because it's an Eddie Curry, not Steph Curry, Eddie Curry hitting a 3 at the buzzer to tie a Knicks game against the Bucks that we've all forgotten about. This is an 07. So, just shout out, that's number 5. I will come back with another power rankings of the top 5 playoff call moments, which will be much more memorable, and I'm sure everyone will know those a little bit better. And they'll have more to do with currently what's going on. The next one I have here, guys, though, is a minute 15 seconds. And it is Mr. Jeremy Lin himself here. Hitting a game winner against Toronto. So, truly one of those. This guy is extremely good for 6 weeks, maybe because he was sleeping on Landry Fields' couch. Once he got to bed, he wasn't good anymore. But here we go. So this one here, not only is it Jeremy Lin hitting a 3 over Toronto to win the game, and there's 0.5 left for anyone who's curious, but this is also the only bang I could find for Mike Breen, right, during the regular season. So the rest of them that are all great bangs or even the double.
I was gonna ask about an honorable mention about a bang. Dang it.
Yeah. Had to bring that one up here. Now, this next one here, I have a honest story for you guys. So, do you know Mark Jackson's famous saying? Walter, you know this, right?
Yeah, it's something like hand down. I thought hand down, man down.
So there's that one, but there's also, Mama, there goes that man, right?
That's what I said.
Yeah, that's what Zev said here. So, the real quick synopsis here for anyone is that Jackson's phrase, and it's an old American joke about children not recognizing their father that became so widely popular it crossed the Atlantic and was used derisively of Hitler prior to World War II. Mm-hmm. The full explanation, and I will link this whole entire Reddit article that I'm reading here in the description for however you're listening to the podcast, but the full explanation here is, this is probably most closely associated with Kobe Bryant highlights from a decade ago, which unfortunately are not available to view on YouTube anymore. But Jackson has subsequently used it as an acknowledged catchphrase for LeBron James and Kevin Durant. Also, videos unavailable here, but I tried my best. And ever since that he started doing it, people have been asking, what's the deal with Mark Jackson saying that? So a popular answer on the internet is that Steve Harvey had been using the phrase in his stand-up around that time, and Jackson took it from there. While that may be the most immediate provenance, I'm not familiar enough with this comedy to recall it, and other than references to Mark Jackson, I couldn't find evidence of that claim online. what's more than likely is that he picked it up from a grandparent or great-grandparent, and that's because that man was an incredibly popular international meme in the 1930s and early 40s before basically evaporating since. This is illustrated by a show generated quite a few catchphrases of its own during its run, It's That Man Again. The BBC radio program supposedly got its name from a common practice of the Daily Express newspaper calling Adolf Hitler that man in its headlines in 1939. I haven't been able to find any of those headlines directly, but it's widely cited the explanation the creators gave for their choice in the title. You might be fooled then into thinking the original meaning is referencing literal historical Hitler, but to my knowledge, Jackson has never used it for a James Harden highlight, and the phrase was already ubiquitous when the Nazis came to power.
This is terrible.
Again, I'm reading a Reddit thread. By 1939, it was popular enough that there was already a song called That Man Is Here Again by Cab Calloway, and sort of common reference is made to it in The Thin Man film released in 1934 as well. For a fuller explanation, you skip to some part in the video, there's a joke, and the joke, and etc. Anyways, this whole long thread here leads to Alex from Yahoo Answers actually had their shit together years ago, unlike apparently everyone else on the internet. And Alex from Yahoo Answers, for anyone who's curious here, said, that Yahoo Answers no longer exists and has been shut down. That doesn't work anymore. That literally happened yesterday. So ultimately, Mark Jackson says there goes a man to punctuate a dunk. He's ultimately referencing to an at minimum 85-year-old joke about absent fathers or cuckoldry. Either way, the player in question is a real MFer, which lines up pretty well with how the phrase is used today. And I am sorry in advance for any of the derogatory phrases I used or the bad terminology or language. I honestly had to censor myself through half this article, and some just slipped. So I will send the article online to both of you guys, but I will also give these out to you.
We're accusing of anti-Semitism and then absentee fathers. Wow.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah. Sometimes Reddit takes you to dark places.
And honestly, researching this led me to that place. So I will tell you guys. All right. Well, so I threw in a. Do I have a video to follow that up? Unfortunately, I do not have a video, but I have to say here, there is a very, all right, we'll go down. We'll go 3, 2, 1. So, unfortunately, for us Thunder fans here, I've got to give us this Steph Curry one, which once it starts.
No, get out of here. I'm not going to listen. I'm going to mute.
Okay, you can mute me. That's fine, Walter. Do you? It's your life, not mine. So, here's the Steph Curry one. This is the only Mike Breen comment that I could find of a game winner with him having the double bang bang in a non-playoff game. So it's a great call, great announcer call. Again, another horrible shot by an NBA player. Can't believe he actually threw that up.
Yeah, that's every time I watch that, I'm just like, that and the Anthony Davis one just hurt.
And for anyone who doesn't know, that was a crazy shot, but in a very closely contested regular season game between the Warriors and Thunder at both the teams' peak of their powers.
Yeah, too bad he traveled and stepped out of bounds before taking the shot, just saying.
Fair. Okay. Fair point.
He double dribbled too. So double dribble, traveled, and stepped out.
They don't call that an NBA.
All right.
And then he committed an offensive foul too.
All right. I've got a couple of the top 10 Kevin Harlan calls. What's funny about this YouTube video is that it says top 10, but really there's only 5. Anyways, I'll give you guys the first one here. So that is Chris Birdman Anderson putting back a putback dunk after a missed Shane Battier 3 from the corner. Kevin Harlan is way too good to not include in this, just to say.
I haven't thought about that Mohawk and Birdman in a while.
The sledgehammer. All right. So that was 2. Now, I have saved the best for last, but real quickly here, I've got an honorable mention for a Steve Buckhantz retracted dagger. And from everything that plays out here, I hope you guys understand what I mean. So what's funny about this is that clearly the announcer thinks that he's hit a 3 to win the game, but is very confused of why all of the Detroit Pistons players are celebrating when Trevor Ariza is walking off the court like nothing happened. Because Trevor Ariza, it looks like from the camera angle they show, I'll give the announcers credit, hit the shot because the net moves in a way of he would hit the shot at the dagger to win. But unfortunately, as we now will find out, Trevor Ariza did not make the shot.
Yeah, I remember that. But the best part is when Calvin gives us this look like we realize what's going on, Zev, and we can't hear it, but that's okay.
I know you. I'm so sorry for how this works for you guys, but
I've been trying to watch some of them as he's listening to them.
Yeah,
so it's okay.
I do like how the announcers laugh at themselves too, knowing that they messed up. And also understand that the Pistons had, at one point, Jose Calderon and Kyle Singler. So, and now, I give you guys the last one here, which is what we've all been waiting for. So you guys cannot hear this at all, Walter and Zev?
Yeah, no, that's okay. I know you're going to play Bill Walton. So just which Bill Walton clip are you going to play?
I am not playing Bill Walton.
Oh, well, then you have made a grave
Russell
mistake.
Westbrook Game Winner of the Year for 2017.
That's a good one.
Good old Brian Davis.
Yeah, against the Nuggets.
I was watching that live. I couldn't believe it.
I just love this highlight so much because, one, Russell Westbrook goes nuts. He hits a 3 to beat the Nuggets. Also in this game, Russell Westbrook had a year of triple-doubles and knocked the Nuggets out of the playoffs, even though all the Nuggets fans go crazy and go nuts as well. So,
yeah, my wife was outside at the time when I was watching the game inside. She didn't know what was happening. She thought about calling the police.
I don't blame her whatsoever.
She said, "What's going on?" And I'm just, "He hit the shot. He hit the shot."
That's wonderful.
She's like, "Who was shot?" Yeah. So.
Well, on all that note here, guys, do we have any final thoughts here as we wrap up this episode of the podcast?
I think we about covered it, my dude.
Well, as always, our thoughts and prayers are with Joel. Hope everything turns out all right. Joel is safe physically, just for everyone. He's curious, but he's just gone through some stuff. So, he'll be back. He'll be back before too long. Don't want to leave necessarily on that somber of a note. Walter, thank you so much for joining here. Glad to get you on video. Zev, glad to get you on video as well. Glad we also got Dr. MLK on video as well too here.
Oh yeah.
Right behind Zev's head. Thank you as always for listening to the latest episode. Oh, and Malcolm X. Thank you as always for listening to the latest episode of the CGA Tour podcast. Please follow at the CGA Tour on Twitter and Instagram for more. Any news and notes and all type of stuff here, please let me know and send me some feedback. And last but not least here, go and give us a rating and review on iTunes. It's going to get us out to more people and hopefully some better guests, better topics, better equipment. So Walter and Zev can hear actually the highlights. But anyways, with all that being said here, guys, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you guys again soon. Peace.
I feel like we're back at Comic-Con in San Diego, Calvin.
Pump it up. Pump up the jams.